welcome to this edition of the Evening Review. My name is Taiwan Jabela. Before we go into the thick of things, let's quickly look at today's front page of Namibian Sun. Tonight, I'm joined by my colleague Jemima Bekes in the studio to talk about the news events of the week. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think the biggest story that you personally did this week was of the test kits that Namibia supposedly donated to Zimbabwe. There are so many contradictions. And you have uncovered some new information this week. What can you tell us about that story?
Well, it is interesting to see how people take advantage of a time like this, especially COVID. We have seen a number of videos on Twitter about the conditions that average Zimbabweans are enduring in quarantine facilities. And then we find that the money for not only testing, but this money could have been applied to improve the conditions in the quarantine facilities. There's a video of a man who can barely walk and who it doesn't look like he even received any food.
Yeah.
So it really makes you wonder how people, I mean, this is a medical doctor in Namibia, and if this is really true, then wow, it's sad that people really want to take advantage of a situation like this.
Well, what did the doctor do, according to what you found?
So according to what we picked up is the doctor quoted the Zimbabwean government, $1,375 for roughly 4,500 testing kits. But the label shows that the payment, that it was only it was worth only $5,000, meaning that he pocketed more than $1 million, and the government paid him for something that should have been only $5,000.
Yeah, yeah. And the Namibian authorities, this whole thing, in your pursuit of this story and in your gut feelings, what seems to be the source of this supposed donation thing? Do you think that there's a cover-up somewhere? Because Namibian authorities told us already in April that they are not aware of any donation having been made to Zimbabwe. But in Zimbabwe, there was a cabinet announcement that the Namibian government has donated those things to them. What are your feelings on that?
And yeah, I hear what you're saying. The government, that side, said it on the most official platform that Namibia has actually given it as a donation. What is strange, though, is that yes, perhaps it was not true. It was not a donation as it turns out to not be. It is now actually testing kits that were bought. I am surprised that the Namibian government has not condemned this, because their name has the Namibian government's name has been brought into disrepute. I mean, people would be wondering, why are they selling rapid tests to country like Zimbabwe if they themselves are struggling? Also, why are they quiet if it is true that they actually donated? And who is lying? Are we lying on this side? Is the doctor lying? Is the Zimbabwean government lying? There's so many ends that just does not come together. And I feel Namibia is a country that prides itself in accountability and transparency, at the very least, Namibia should come out and condemn this and really distance themselves from this. They have so far, our health minister has just been saying, no, we don't know anything about this, and that's it. Nobody has come out officially to distance themselves. So it makes you wonder, how involved are our government in this whole fiasco?
Sorry. Because I think Jemima, also that the fact that I mean the most logical thing to do at a diplomatic level, for example, is for the Namibian authorities to maybe summon the Zimbabwean ambassador here and say what exactly is going on here, or speak at a government to government level, and say maybe the minister, our minister of international relations, speaks to her counterpart that side, and really, because you are absolutely correct in saying that the fact that there's nobody from this side at the higher level coming out and say, look, because it's not enough just to say, no, it's not a donation, we didn't make any donation. It's another thing to come out and say, look, we have launched an investigation, or we sort of questioned some of these things, and this is the conclusion that we came to, and this is our position. That
yes,
hasn't
absolutely.
happened. Yeah.
Absolutely, and we don't see that happening at all. And especially in a sub-region like SADC has been, they have launched all sorts of anti-corruption campaigns, and here we are quiet in the face of most extreme corruption.
Indeed. Now, another story that has been doing rounds in the country this whole week is about incidences of perceived racism. There's a lady who today, she must have undergone a disciplinary hearing at her workplace in Walvis Bay, and also we learned this afternoon that the government has, the state has actually brought charges against her. This is now Corinne Steenkamp in Walvis Bay. And then just a day, maybe 2 days later, there's another lady called Sonia Isaacs, also having said some derogatory things towards the president, and they carry some racial connotation. What is happening? What have you read into these things?
I think with the lockdown, so many people are under pressure, and when people, there's a saying that says you get to see the real person when they are under pressure, and I think that is what's happening now. Racist, tribalist, whatever people are now coming out for everybody to see. And I think as a government, Namibia is not doing enough. It doesn't even look like they are committed. We are throwing around the One Namibia, One Nation slogan every single year, but nothing is really invested in making sure that this evil of racism, especially racism, is arrested. We see so many, the ombudsman himself, the ombudsman should be at the forefront addressing him, but the only excuse, he can only come up with excuses. He's been telling us that we cannot do anything because the racial prohibition law has fell into disuse. You're the ombudsman, then you need to do something about this. So this shows us the level of commitment that government has invested in fighting racism.
There's also the issue of, because I think all these things are coming up at a very important, very critical time in the history of mankind, if you like. What is happening in the USA now with the George Floyd thing, statues being brought down across the world, and people in Namibia also talking about some gallows at Hendy's Bay. Is it a case of people crawling back into their cocoons? We are white, we are black, we are going to defend our stuff. What is happening there?
Yeah, and I'm going back again to when people are under pressure. So also when people are threatened, then it's the minute a snake is threatened, for instance, it starts to bite. People would say, no, it is actually harmless. So and I think that is what's happening. People's livelihoods are at stake right now. It's not only black workers that are, or black people that are whose livelihoods are threatened. Everybody across the board. And then you see people saying, no, we need to protect each other. And unfortunately for them, each other is their kin. And this is what we are seeing. But on the issue of gallows, I see people, I've seen all over social media, people have launched campaigns, all sorts of campaigns. I personally feel that there's so many powerful and influential people living in Henty's Bay who have plots there. Our ministers, our lawmakers, they are living there. They are going there every holiday. They come running back crying that they've been abused. But they cannot be crying. I mean, they are the ones who need to change this.
Yes, and protect
So they
all of
can't
us.
be, you can't be crying all the time and say, no, this is what happened. I mean, look at the deputy information minister. He needed to at least start a proper campaign or something to address the kind of treatment that, because he said it was racism. So why are people, they come here outside Henties Bay and then suddenly they talk about the racism. But they are the ones who need to change laws. They are the ones who need to affect change, but they're not doing it. So the men on the street won't be able to do any or bring about any sort of change if the man who is responsible for this for the making of this change cannot do it or will not do it, because it makes you wonder why is it that people are so reluctant.
Yeah, it's true. I had on the show this week. I had a young man called Lebeus Hashikutuba. He's one of the people driving the petition to pick up signatures against those gallows. And one of the questions that I put to him was the issue of legitimacy, to say what gives you the legitimacy to be at the forefront of these things. And it speaks exactly to what you're saying now, to say that when the leaders that we have voted into power are not leading from the front, it's left to people like Lebeus now to start doing that. And he's just a young fellow with no backup really, legally and otherwise. But those are the choices that people are left with at the moment.
Yes, unfortunately, that's what we see. Like with the independent candidate phenomena that we see in the last elections, because people really felt the party can't do it for me. These leaders that we've elected can't do it for me, so let me do it myself. So that's what we see now.
Indeed. Yeah, so your sound, is it okay there? Yeah, okay. So the last thing that I want to talk to you about, Jemima, is you.
Oh.
Saying, oh. You are in this moment one of the best reporters in the country. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And as your editor, I'm very, very proud of you, because you are a go-getter. You are a fantastic professional. But that is not always the view of people who do not work with you on a daily basis. And this comes out every time when you speak truth to power, and you do that so regularly. Maybe a week or two ago, you asked the president why he was not wearing his mask. There was also a time when you sort of confronted the president, like, what was that? At the
hospital?
At the hospital. And a week ago, you were sort of manhandled by state security agents when you showed up at a news conference, at a news event at Windhoek Central Hospital. I just want you to make me not me in particular, but our viewers understand why you adopt that level of that approach, essentially. Why do you do it the way you do it?
I think viewers must understand that people will not invite you to a party that they don't want you to come and see what they want to hide from you.
Yeah.
So as a journalist, it is number one my role, and I think most people don't understand that a journalist should not be invited. A journalist is there to seek for truth. And I mean, with the level of corruption in Namibia, who is going to give you all the truth? Nobody's going to do it. So you need a level of boldness to be able to ask. We've become so, I would say, passive in Namibia. People believe we must be very respectful. There's a difference between respectful and boldness. I've never been disrespectful. I've always been very bold, but never been disrespectful. I've always greeted the president when I speak to him. Before I address him, I would greet him, and then I would ask the question. Namibians, I've picked up, Namibians are not used to honest conversations. You cannot have an honest answer, and you cannot hold the government accountable if you don't ask them proper questions. And that is why people perceive me perhaps as, I don't know what they really perceive me as. The reason why I made a conscious decision when we were showed away at the isolation unit. Because number one, they told us that they made a decision to have only 50 people. Yes, I agree they should have had only 50 people, but there were more than 50 people there. Secondly, we asked to, why would they keep you if they were busy with noble intentions? Why would they keep you away? And it has now become a trend that government has nestled in the arms of government, state-owned newspapers, because they don't want to be asked questions. They don't want to be held accountable. They will issue us a very vague statement, and you must make a story out of that. You must give the answers to people. At this point, we don't even know where the 8.1 billion went. Nobody's willing to really give you all those answers. So do you think I would get those answers if I asked them in a very nice and gentle way? No, I'm not. And I think people also don't really understand journalism. Journalism is not for the faint-hearted. It has really actually taken me a long time to realize myself that this, unfortunately, we can't be gentle-hearted in this industry, because people are bent on keeping things from the Namibian citizens. People are bent on enriching themselves and not giving one dime about what's happening to the people that are living in the informal settlements. So as journalists, it is our role to make sure whatever means possible, we get to those answers. And it takes boldness.
Indeed. But just the last one on that one. Is it, in terms of the precedent, those incidents, if I can call them that way, is it because it comes to the territory that when you are president of the country, you ought to be scrutinized more than anyone else, or is it just so happens that for some reason would you subject do you subject other political leaders to the same kind of confrontation, if you like?
The president calls himself the head of the house. He talks of Namibia as a Namibian house. So if you, adopting a mask is for our own benefit. It is, we are here in the heart of a pandemic, and the mask is one of our best equipment against us spreading this pandemic even further. Now people are out there. Most of our Namibian people they do not understand the intensity of this pandemic. Yes. Now you see a president who does not regard mask a very necessity at all. So obviously the man on the street would say, but the president is not doing this. So why should I be doing it? And that's what people are doing. People are saying that.
Yes.
You hear them say, my leader. And yes, I would also, it depends. So about PDM, say it's a matter of land, and they grab land, then obviously they must also explain. Why is it? Because you can't be standing for this one thing, and then you do the complete opposite.
Yes, yes. At least thanks to your boldness, the president at the next event, he had his mask on. So
it's actually my colleague Denver Kisting who started, but also we've and I think we've, even with the sauna, I know I may be digressing, but I think we should really try and use time wisely in this country. Yeah. Because like I've said, there's an increasing trend in this country to stifle the media. So as journalists, we've organized ourselves to make sure that if we have important questions, all of us hammer on it first before we go to the second question, so we get those answers. And I've seen with the SONA, some people really ask unnecessary questions, and they wasted the opportunity for the next person to come and ask proper, questions that's on everybody's lips. And I think that's just a trend that we should work on.
Indeed. So at last, this weekend is Friday, and you and the president have a song out featuring each other. When can we
hear the next one? Well, it's very cold now. And we must see if NASCAM will give us our money first.
Jemima, thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. That is my colleague Jemima Bukes. She's a reporter here at Namibian Sun, speaking to us about events that made news this week, and also her approach to gathering news. Thank you for watching.